Scene script. Picture this. A fine, ordinary day in rural Kentucky, 1876. You're going about your day when suddenly meat starts raining from the sky. No, you heard it right, a meat shower. In the heart of America, nestled amongst the rolling hills and sprawling farms, the people of Bath County, Kentucky were just going about their business. The morning chores were well underway, cattle were being herded, and the aroma of freshly baked bread wafted through the air. The sun was shining, casting a warm glow on the rustic landscape. It was the quintessential 19th century rural scene, a slice of Americana, if you will. But then something utterly bizarre and inexplicable occurred. The sky began to darken, and a peculiar, yet oddly familiar substance started to fall. It wasn't rain, it wasn't snow, it was meat. Yes, dear listeners, chunks of raw flesh, as if from some celestial butcher, were falling from the heavens. You can imagine the sheer astonishment, the disbelief that rippled through the community. Folks ran for cover, shielding their heads from the unexpected deluge. Children shrieked, farmers stared, and housewives gasped in shock as chunks of meat rained down, littering the ground. Picture the scene. The quiet, peaceful day turned into a spectacle of the absurd. The townsfolk, who were used to the occasional unpredictability of nature, were left scratching their heads. The sky, which moments before had been a picture of serene blue, was now a stage for an event so strange it seemed to defy the laws of nature. The townsfolk turned their eyes skyward, their faces a mixture of bewilderment and curiosity. The questions started to tumble out. What was happening? Was it a prank, a divine message, or perhaps a sign of the apocalypse? And of course, the burning question on everyone's mind: where on earth, or rather, where in the heavens, was this meat coming from? Now that's one way to get your daily protein, isn't it? But where did this mysterious meat rain come from? Imagine you're the local law enforcement in 1876 Kentucky. You've dealt with horse thieves, moonshiners, but a meat rain? Now that's a first. Let's journey back to the late 19th century, a time when a sheriff's hat was as much a part of his identity as his trusty steed. Picture this. You're minding your own business, perhaps enjoying a steaming cup of coffee, when all of a sudden you're informed of a rain of meat. Yes, you heard that right. Meat falling from the sky. The townsfolk must have thought it was the end of days, or perhaps a gift from the heavens. The initial investigations into the event were as baffling as they were hilarious. The local law enforcement, not exactly trained in meat falling from the sky scenarios, were as confused as the townsfolk. They did what anyone would do in such a bizarre situation. They tried to identify the meat. What a sight it must have been. The local butcher might have been the most popular man in town that day, called upon to use his expertise in a way he never imagined. There were probably debates over the dinner table, discussions in the local tavern, and even arguments in the town square. Was it beef? Was it pork? Could it be chicken? Oh, the theories that must have abounded. Some might have thought it was a sign from the gods. Others may have suspected a prank gone terribly wrong. And let's not forget the possibility of a new kind of weather phenomenon, meat showers. But the question remained, where did it come from? How did it end up falling from the sky? And most importantly, was it safe to eat? So the great meat mystery deepens. Was it beef, pork, chicken, or perhaps something more sinister? The answer to these questions would have to wait, as the investigation into the Kentucky meat shower of 1876 was just beginning. As with any mystery, theories began to sprout like mushrooms after rain. And let me tell you, some of these theories are even stranger than the event itself. It's the year 1876, and folks in Bath County, Kentucky, are still scratching their heads over the recent rain of meat. Yes, you heard that right, a downpour of flesh had just occurred, and the explanations for this phenomenon were as varied as they were bizarre. One of the first theories proposed was the buzzard theory. Now this theory suggests that a group of vultures had indulged in a grand feast, and while flying over the area, they simultaneously regurgitated their meal. Sounds gross, right? But hey, it's nature's way, and this theory did have some scientific backing. Another theory, a bit more out there, proposed that the meat was actually cosmic debris from an exploded planet. Now I know what you're thinking, that's a stretch. But remember, this was the late 19th century, and astronomy was all the rage. Then there were those who believed it was a biblical sign, a divine message of sorts. This theory, while not widely accepted, gave rise to some interesting local folklore. The theories were so varied and so wild that they sparked fierce debates among the townsfolk. The buzzard believers and the cosmic meat theorists found themselves in heated discussions, while the divine message disciples watched on, convinced of their own truth. The local newspaper, the Bath County News, was inundated with letters debating the origin of the meat, and the local saloon became a hotbed of meat shower discourse. Theories were dissected, ridiculed, and defended with a passion that was almost as peculiar as the reign of meat itself. In the end, these theories only added to the mystery of the event. The meat shower had not only left a mess in the fields of Bath County, but had also left the townspeople divided and puzzled. So, we have a meat shower and a town divided over the cause. But the truth, as they say, is stranger than fiction. After much debate, scientific investigation, and probably a lot of taste testing, we finally have a likely explanation. Brace yourselves, it's a wild ride. Our most accepted theory, believe it or not, involves a flock of hungry vultures, a meaty meal, and a sudden urge to, well, relieve themselves mid-flight. Yes, folks, our best guess is that the Kentucky meat shower was, in fact, a rain of regurgitated vulture vomit. Before you dismiss this as sheer nonsense, consider the evidence. Vultures are known to vomit as a defense mechanism when threatened, or simply to lighten their load for a quick escape. So the theory goes, a flock of these birds had recently feasted, and then, for reasons only known to the vultures, decided to collectively upchuck their meal over poor Mrs. Crouch's farm. Now we can't ignore the absurdity of this explanation. A meat shower caused by a vulture vomit storm? It sounds like something out of a tall tale, doesn't it? But sometimes, truth is stranger than fiction. The samples collected were identified as lung tissue, likely from a horse. Given that vultures are known scavengers, and horse carcasses would have been common in the late 19th century, this theory begins to hold some weight. On top of this, the meat was described as fresh, which aligns with the idea of a recent feast. The chunks were also scattered over a large area, which would be consistent with a flock of birds flying overhead. And let's not forget, there were no reports of meaty meteorites or beefy balloons floating around that day. So while it may seem laughable, this theory presents a plausible explanation that fits the evidence and the behaviors of our feathered suspects. The Kentucky meat shower might just be an extraordinary example of nature's peculiarities. So there you have it, the Kentucky meat shower, a strange event, a town divided, and a theory that's just as bizarre as the event itself. So what happens after your town becomes famous for a meat shower? Let's just say, it's not your usual 15 minutes of fame. In the wake of the bizarre event, the Kentucky town found itself the center of attention, albeit for a curious reason. The townsfolk were left picking up the pieces, both literally and metaphorically, as they grappled with the fallout of the Meaty meteorological phenomenon. Many locals became overnight celebrities, their testimonies sought after by newspapers and scientific journals across the country. The town's butcher, in particular, had to fend off more than his fair share of meat-related inquiries. A few entrepreneurial spirits even tried to capitalize on the event, selling chunks of the mysterious meat as souvenirs. But it wasn't all fun and games. The meat shower left a lingering sense of unease among some members of the community. After all, it's not every day that your afternoon stroll is interrupted by a deluge of flesh from the heavens. On a broader scale, the event also left an indelible mark on popular culture and history. The Kentucky meat shower became a staple of American folklore, the subject of countless retellings, and the inspiration for numerous works of fiction. It has been referenced in books, movies, and even a song or two. Moreover, the incident sparked a renewed interest in scientific inquiry, particularly in the fields of meteorology and zoology. It compelled scientists to examine the natural world more closely, explore the limits of the possible, and ask questions they might not have considered before. In the end, the legacy of the Kentucky meat shower extended far beyond the town's borders. It served as a reminder of the inherent strangeness of the world, the capacity for the unexpected, and the enduring human fascination with the unexplained. And that, my friends, is the tale of the Kentucky meat shower, A story so strange it must be true. After all, who could make up a rain of meat?